Kevin Clark, and this is Dead Wax True Crime, another true crime podcast.
Dear Greg, Merry Christmas. As you know, I've always been able to write what I feel better than saying it.
You're listening to Series 1, the June Larimore Project, and this is Episode 4, Junebug.
So I'm writing you this Christmas letter. I just want you to know how special you are and how important you are to me. But most important, what you already know, how much I love you and why.
This is June Larimore's niece and Jane's daughter, Angel. I asked Angel if she would read some of June's writings because unfortunately I've not been able to find any audio recording of June's voice yet.
I promised you when we were married to be a wonderful wife.
I have a cabinet full of information about June's final moments. The cabinet also contains her height and her weight, her grades in school, even her medical records. Over the course of this project, I've come to learn more about June Larimore than just about any other person I know outside of my children. Yet I've never met her, and I've never heard her voice. I have dozens of photos from her life, but they're all black and white Xerox copies. The only color photos I have of June are from the crime scene and the autopsy.
I guess I just haven't been putting my full share in.
I've mentioned the boxes of evidence I have obtained while doing this project. You've heard and seen a lot of that evidence over these first few episodes. This Christmas letter from June to her husband, Greg Larimore, was one of the first items I digitized from this cache of evidence.
Then I can be the wife you can be proud of.
Actually, it is the 18th entry on this spreadsheet. The asset name, 3-page letter from June to Greg, Christmas 1989. And in the notes column, I typed the words, "Wow, heartbreaking," and highlighted them in red.
Take the load off your back instead of me always being on your back.
There is so much about this letter that is heartbreaking. The date, Christmas 1989. She wrote this just a couple of weeks before her end, and the way she closes the letter.
Merry Christmas, and many wonderful years together to come.
And then there's the subtext.
They say the first year is always the hardest. I know we can make our marriage even better. I guess I just haven't been putting my full share in. I'm walking behind you instead of beside you. Then I can be the wife you can be proud of. You must love me for me, not what I do for a living or who I am, because I have a sorry job and I am a nobody.
This is a very private glimpse into a marriage. We should not be party to this communication, yet here it is, part of the public record, only because of what happened just a few days after June finished this letter and closed it with that ever-hopeful ending.
Merry Christmas, and many wonderful years together to come. 1990, one of the best.
That ending now carries a sorrowful irony. Nothing of June Larimore's life is private anymore. Her entire life has been entered into the public record, and it was the same for the family. Even the grieving process was public.
Saying goodbye to Junebug. As I write this letter, I know that in some way I'm trying to find courage with words. I have to say goodbye to my baby sister. Her name was June, often referred to by me as Junebug.
This is a goodbye letter from June's sister, Jane, published in the local papers the week after she found her sister's body. I asked Jane if she would read it for this episode. She did, and 35 years later, the words still choke.
I love Junebug so much. Now, someone has taken my baby sister from me and taking Angela and Leanne's Junie away. I can't begin to understand why.
In the past few weeks, June's friends who have found this podcast have reached out. They want to remember and talk about their lost friend.
If you were her friend, she would do anything for you. And I saw this over and over again.
Everyone loved June. She was hilarious. Hilarious. I loved her so much, and I know that she loved me.
Police collected other writings from June from the crime scene.
Goals I want to achieve this year.
A to-do list.
Things to do Monday, September 18th, 1989. 1. Go to doctor.
A poem.
Forget Him by June Sparks. Forget his name, forget his face, forget his kiss, his warm embrace.
And an invitation to a barbecue.
You're invited to our 4th of July pool party. Volleyball, badminton, horseshoes, and of course a pool and an ice-cold keg of beer to cool off with.
Angel and I met up in Memphis for the sole purpose of recording these words from June, but I wanted to dig a little deeper once we finished.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, now, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions while I have you?
Sure. I'm glad. I would love to do that.
You haven't seen the stuff that your mom gave me. She gave me boxes of stuff. And this is not a bad thing, because I understand it, because I'm obsessed about my dad's murder.
Mm-hmm.
So your mom, and how her sister's death affected her. How does that roll over onto you? Tell me about that life.
Yeah. I think that's the most emotional part for me, is that I was so young when it happened, but it affected our life forever. I think it really did. The trials just seemed to go on forever, and it was so heavy on our family. It was really hard on me as a child, and yeah. My mom, I don't know. I have so few memories of before because I was so young, but I feel like it was just so heavy, and she felt this burden to make sure that justice happened, and that just to not let this go unsolved. And she worked really, really hard to make that happen. And it certainly was a stress on us that as an adult now I can see. I can't imagine raising my kids. My kids right now are 6, 4, and 3, so around the age that I would have been when this happened. I can't imagine having this additional heavy thing to handle, not just the heaviness of the trials, but that she actually found the body. And so she was going through her own trauma to deal with what she saw. And I really can't imagine that kind of trauma and then mothering on top of it.
In your opinion, did this take up too much space in your mom's life?
Yeah. Not that I think she gave too much to it, but I think it stole it from us. It demanded it. You know, there wasn't a choice to not give the time to it, so she did what she had to do. I'm sorry, I know you went through this too. And, you know, you grow up and you heal and you don't think about it for a while. And then when you really do try and think about it again, you just, at least for me, I feel bad for my 5-year-old, 6-year-old self. And I feel bad for my mom, who was, I don't know, maybe 25 at the time. I just feel bad for all of us. I feel bad for you that you went through it. There are families everywhere that go through this.
The person that did this, what did they take from you?
I think they took my mom. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go get a tissue.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't expect to be this emotional. I knew I would be emotional, but not like this. And I should clarify, my mom is wonderful, and she was present, and she was there with me she was present and dedicated to being a mom. So she was there. But I think they took the mom that she would have been if this hadn't happened.
It is June's sister Jane who, more than anyone, has kept June's memory alive. June's time only lasted 24 years. Her remnants live on, though, through the ones that she's left behind. But even as the memories of her fade, and as the sound of her voice is lost, and as the colors of her life become more muted with each passing year, the embers of that memory that once was June Larimore, those embers still glow.
So that's the kind of friend that June was. She would protect you with literally her life.
We became close just through gymnastics. She would never drop me. She'd fall before she dropped me.
She said, "We're going to get married." And I'm like, "Oh, yay!"
Okay, we have to get back to the narrative. Last we left, it was January 18th, 1990, a Thursday, and June Larimore's husband, Greg, had just been arrested and arraigned. He was released on a $150,000 bond and walked free for the 11 months that it would take before the trial started. During that time, police would continue to build their case against Greg Larimore. They investigated rumors of drug use. They collected hair samples from Larimore on the day after the murder and sent them to the FBI to be tested for cocaine. Those samples came back with a letter stating that due to the limited amount of hair, no drug analysis was performed. And about 3 months later, police obtained a warrant for another hair sample. This time, the letter from the FBI stated no cocaine was identified. So, Larimore was clean. But it's important to note that according to scientific studies published in 2004 and 2009, the standard detection window for cocaine and hair analysis is about 3 months. Police continued to interview people, particularly about Greg Larimore's behavior in the early days after June's murder.
This interview will be with Robert Cunningham, who's employed with Domino's Pizza. Would you state your name for me, please?
My name is Robert Cunningham.
Robert, I understand you're employed with Domino's Pizza. Okay.
As you heard, this is Robert Cunningham, a delivery driver for Domino's Pizza. Sergeant Miller is asking about a delivery Cunningham made to the Larimore home on January 16th, 1990, a Tuesday. And that's less than a week after June's body was discovered there.
Hear loud rocking on music as soon as you turn the corner there.
Can you turn off right along the wall so you can hear the loud rocking on?
Cunningham told Sergeant Miller that he could hear loud rock music from the Larimore home when he turned on to the road. He went on to say a woman answered the door.
Could you describe her?
About 5'7", 5'8". She had black hair.
Long, short?
About shoulder.
Okay.
And she was about average build. She wasn't too heavy or too thin.
Okay.
She was about 5'7" and had shoulder-length dark hair. And then, as he was leaving, this.
And I'm like, one of the doctors, she told me, she said, don't think anything is going on because I have to slam the door. So don't think I killed anybody.
She said, you don't think I killed anybody because I had to slam the door to get...
Don't think I killed anybody. Now, if you sit there and try to figure that out, why someone would say something like that at that house and just a week away from so much evil, I can only think of a couple of reasons. One, that it's gallows humor. That's not an invalid way to deal with grief. Two, it's just plain cold callousness. This next interview doesn't paint Greg Larimore any more favorably. Here is Sergeant Barry Miller's interview with Ann Poff after she said she saw Larimore at a local nightclub early on Sunday morning, January 21st, which would make this about 3 days after Larimore was arrested.
It's going to be a taped interview conducted at the Reliable Police Department. Today's date is 1/26/90, the time 6:55 p.m. This interview will be in reference to police complaint 90119, homicide investigation of the death of June Larimore. The interview will be conducted with Miss Ann Poff. Would you state your name, please?
Ann Poff.
Okay. What I'd like to talk to you about, I understand that you were at the Entertainer on Sunday morning.
Yes.
Okay. And that you observed Greg Larimore there?
Yes.
Could you just tell me in your own words what you observed?
He was with 3 guys and a woman. They were dancing. The woman sat up on his lap. She kissed him. They slowed down. And she sat on his lap, and they were having a good time.
How long were they there? How long did you notice them there?
I was only there about 35 minutes, and they were still there when I left. And I left a little after noon.
Were they consuming drinks?
They were drinking, but I don't know.
You don't know why? Did it appear to you that this girl was with him solely?
Yes.
Okay. And when you talk about you giving him, sitting on his lap and giving him kisses, are you talking about this pecks, or are you talking about...
She was sitting in his lap, kissing him on the mouth.
Passionate?
In the mouth, yes.
Did this strike you as odd?
Yes, it did.
Through the past circumstances that you know about?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Both these witnesses identify a woman with dark hair, about 5'7", and with a medium build. Robert Cunningham, the pizza delivery person, stated he saw a silver sports car, possibly a Ford, in the driveway of the Larimore home. I can't find any other mentions of this woman anywhere in the records that I have. And more importantly, neither of these witnesses were called at the trial. So were these witnesses discredited, or did they merely slip through the cracks? Regardless, the trial would begin on December 4th, 1998, Tuesday. For the prosecution, they had no motive, they had no eyewitnesses, and they had no physical evidence. Their case against Greg Larimore was wholly circumstantial. Only one thing mattered for this trial, and that was June's time of death. Remember, Greg Larimore was at work at 7 a.m. on January 11th, 1990. We mentioned in the last episode, the state medical examiner, Dr. Fahmy Malik, told Captain Hill on the morning of January 12th that June died between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. Captain Hill told Dr. Malik that Greg Larimore had an alibi. If that were true, then later that afternoon, Dr. Malik changed June's time of death to before 6 a.m. And later that week, after seeing the crime scene video, he put in the autopsy report that the time of death was between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. Now, the only part of this information that the defense or the jury would ever hear in this trial was that 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. estimation. The other information was suppressed. The jury would also not hear much about the controversy surrounding Dr. Malik. So, Dr. Fahmy Malik, we have to wade into these waters. To say that Dr. Malik's tenure at the crime lab was controversial is more than an understatement. Now, when I started my first documentary about my dad's murder, I knew I was not prepared to deal with the local law enforcement, especially in Crittenden County, Arkansas. Dad was murdered in the same county where, in 1993, 3 8-year-old boys were murdered and found in a drainage ditch. I had read a book about the murders, Devil's Knot, the true story of the West Memphis Three, and it was written by Mara Leverett. And after I encountered some difficulty in working with local law enforcement, I decided to reach out to the author. She was kind and generous with her time and offered what strategies she could, but more than anything, she simply listened and encouraged me to work through my frustrations. Mara Leverett also covered Dr. Malik in her book, Boys on the Tracks. So I thought I'd reach out again, and once again, she was responsive and generous with her time. She reminded me of the work of a journalist, Rod Lorenzen, who wrote a powerful piece on Dr. Malik that was published in the Arkansas Times in June of 1990. I had read the piece a few weeks earlier, and it is powerful, and it pulls no punches.
This is Rod.
Hey, Rod, it's Kevin Clark.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
I'm well, man. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Do I need to tell you anything more about what I'm talking about here, or?
No, not really.
Okay, we can jump right into it then, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
First of all, Malik is such a central part of this story, and I want to be able to relate to the audience what kind of personality he was. And you wrote a lot about how impactful his personality was. Can you characterize that for me?
Yeah, let me just say, first of all, before I even started that article, I wrote Malik a letter and invited him to sit down with me, and he responded through his attorney. So I never met him face to face. But what I know about him comes from attorneys and other people that knew him pretty well. And he was, as I recall, a native of Egypt. And so his English was not great. And I think one of the problems with Malik was that he felt like it was his job to come up with cases that would be friendly for prosecutors. One attorney told me that when Malik would take the stand in a trial, he could speak perfectly clearly and coherently when the prosecution was asking questions, but when the other side was asking questions, then his accent got real thick and very difficult to understand. And I had several attorneys tell me that.
Lorenzen's piece paints quite a portrait of Dr. Malik, a man with unusual access to the governor, a man of polished manners and worldly charm who would tromp through the rose garden near the governor's office to snap off a few roses to lavish upon the governor's secretaries. Lorenzen wrote that Malik did everything with a flourish, that Malik would be chauffeured to court appearances and insist on being put on the stand first. The article cites at least 2 cases where Malik altered testimony, resulting in a boost to the prosecution.
So your work concerning Malik, can you go ahead and just kind of characterize that? What was the impetus for the story?
At that time, there were a number of families that were having a lot of difficulty accepting his rulings in the deaths of their loved ones. And Malik was in the news constantly. And a lot of these families were protesting some of his rulings, to their legislators. And it kind of snowballed, and he was in the public eye more than he should have been, let me put it that way, because of some of these rulings.
Can you cite a couple of cases where Malik's decisions might have caused those families a little bit of discomfort?
Yeah, there was a case where 2 boys from around Benton, Arkansas, that's in central Arkansas, were killed and found on some railroad tracks. This was the case that got lots of attention in the press. The mother of one of the boys was unsatisfied with the ruling and kept trying to bring her case to her local legislators and also to the local newspapers. And then another case where I talked to the parent of a girl who died. Her name was Janie Ward. His name was Ron Ward, and they lived in Marshall, Arkansas, which is about 2.5 hours north of our capital city of Little Rock. In the Ward case, Janie Ward, a teenager at the time, was killed, and Dr. Malik ruled that it was accidental. But the problem was that he said that Janie Ward was sitting on a porch one night with some friends and fell over backward in a chair off a porch that was about 12 inches high. And he maintained that that was the cause of death.
These are the 2 most controversial cases concerning Dr. Malik's work. The deaths of Don Henry and Kevin Ives, or as they would become known, the boys on the tracks, and the Janie Ward case. But there are more. Both of these cases ended up with the bodies being exhumed for additional autopsies, the cost of which apparently was covered by the families, who, already adrift in sorrow, now had to navigate the added poignant expense of exhuming their loved ones. In both cases, the new autopsies resulted in the cases being reclassified and reopened.
I'm curious about this because your article is man, it does not pull any punches. And Malik being pretty strong figure in the state. After you published, did you have any concerns at all about potential fallout, not only of inside the justice system, but personally?
Yes, I did, because I got, I think at least two of his former employees to talk to me off the record. And after each conversation, they told me to be very careful and to watch out. And I'm not sure what they meant by that, but I was careful because I was a fairly young man with two small children. And I looked over my shoulder for a long time after that article ran.
As allegations of questionable findings and practices by Malik mounted in September of 1991, as Governor Bill Clinton was preparing to launch a bid for the presidency, Malik was forced to resign. The jury in our case was restricted from hearing most of this information during the trial. The defense did bring up briefly Dr. Malik's widely controversial ruling in the Boys on the Tracks case, but the prosecution quickly objected and the court sustained, telling Malik, "You do not need to answer that, Dr. Malik." So the defense focused heavily on contradicting Dr. Malik's determination of June's time of death. They brought in 3 forensic experts, most notably Dr. Werner Spitz, a forensic pathologist who had worked on several high-profile cases, including investigations of the assassinations of President Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King. Spitz died in 2024, but he is still regarded as one of the most well-respected forensic scientists in the world. Spitz, along with Dr. Frank Cleveland and Dr. Don Volman, estimated June's time of death to be between 5:50 a.m. and 7:40 a.m. on January 11th, 1990. The prosecution seized on the testimony of these defense experts, pointing out that even if they were correct in their estimations, Greg Larimore still had the opportunity to murder his wife and be at work by 7 a.m. In addition to attacking Dr. Malik's time of death determination, the defense also attempted to demonstrate that June Larimore could have been killed by that unknown black male that so many witnesses saw in the cul-de-sac that morning.
Did you notice anyone unusual within your neighborhood this morning?
Is a black person.
I saw a tall black male.
And I saw a black male.
It was a black guy. He was walking down in front of our street.
And then this black guy was walking down the street. He walked down to the Larimore's house. He walked on the right side of the van. When he got in front of the van, he cut across and went towards where the back door is.
They highlighted the cigarette found in the kitchen sink, which tests confirmed was not smoked by neither June nor Greg Larimore, as well as unidentified fingerprints that were found at the crime scene. The defense noted that police did not observe any cuts or abrasions on Greg Larimore immediately after the murder, and tests on his nail scrapings showed no trace evidence of blood. The defense also pointed out that many of June Larimore's wounds were consistent with a left-handed perpetrator, while police records indicated Greg Larimore was right-handed. What the defense could not point out was that initial estimation of June Larimore's time of death, nor could they posit anything about the hair from the crime scene coming from someone of African descent, some of which was covered in blood. These facts would not be known by the defense for years, so the prosecution was able to mitigate everything the defense threw at them. And on December 14th, 1990, a Friday, the defense rested, and at 7:27 p.m. that same day, the jury, they returned with a verdict.
We, the jury, find Greg Larimore guilty of murder in the first degree and fix his sentence at a term of life imprisonment in the Arkansas Department of Corrections.
A video of this moment shows the family and friends of June Larimore crying, with June's sister Jane nodding her head in agreement. Greg Larimore collapses in a seat with both elbows on the table in front of him. He buries his head under his hands as if he's trying to disappear from the moment. His father, Sam, sits beside him and embraces him, then leans his head into his son's and whispers something in his ear. Greg Larimore would remain free on bond for the pending appeal, but this sentence, this life in prison sentence handed down by the jury, well, it would not stand.
Dear Greg, Merry Christmas. As you know, I've always been able to write what I feel better than saying it.
Remember that Merry Christmas letter we started the episode with?
So I'm writing you this Christmas letter.
Yeah, this letter was taken from the crime scene and entered into evidence. It became State's Exhibit number 6 at pretrial hearings. That you heard it and can read it on our Patreon is more than the judge at the trial wanted the jury to hear, but they did hear it. This letter and more evidence that had been suppressed during pretrial hearings was mistakenly taken into the jury room during deliberation. Within hours of the verdict, the prosecution discovered this mistake and notified the court. And while the trial court denied Greg Larimore's motion for a new trial, the Arkansas Supreme Court would not. This case, Larimore 1 as it would become known, was just the beginning. Larimore 2 was still 2 years away, and the trial for Larimore 3, and it would begin on November 10th in the year 2000. On April 8th, 1990, a Sunday, less than 3 months after June's body was found, 34.6 million viewers tuned into ABC for the premiere of Twin Peaks. I was one of those viewers. The question, who killed Laura Palmer, became a cultural phenomenon. The parallels I've drawn between Laura Palmer and June Larimore became hardwired in my brain. The stretches I've made to parallel the town of Twin Peaks and my hometown Blytheville are tenuous, but they are there. They are both mill towns, one lumber and one steel. Both have a former military component, and both have characters whose existence pushes the boundaries of credulity. Twin Peaks has the log lady, and Blytheville had the mission man, a white-haired gentleman who would cruise around town on the weekends handing out donuts from the trunk of his car. Twin Peaks had Dr. Jacoby, and we had Dr. John Q. Elliott, a doctor whose hands, damaged by the war, cured everyone with a concoction only known as purple medicine. And of course, Twin Peaks had Laura Palmer, and we had June Larimore. Both mysteries oblique and opaque, seemingly far beyond the grasp of any understanding. It took me 30 years to finally get Twin Peaks and finally understand who really killed Laura Palmer. And once I saw it, what was shocking was that all the answers to the mysteries of Twin Peaks, they were all hiding in plain sight all along. Check. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2, 3, 4. Levels. Check 1. All right, today is Friday, October 17th, 2025. And of course, as soon as I start this, the leaf blowers outside start. So go figure. This is my third attempt at calling Greg Larimore. Next time on Dead Wax True Crime. Another trial, another venue, another verdict. And today, theories still abound.
When I walked out of that house, I had two suspects, and there was no evidence to exonerate them.
Well, who were those two suspects?
One of them was arrested, I'll put it that way. But there was another suspect that I had to eliminate. To this day, I haven't eliminated him. He's still a suspect to me.
If we go off the record temporarily, will you give me that name?
No.
Okay. Copy that. Dead Wax True Crime is a production of Stories of the American South. It is researched, written, and edited by me, Kevin Clark. If you have information about what happened to June Larimore, please contact us at our website, deadwaxtruecrime.com. And if you want to hear more and see more, please consider subscribing to our Patreon page. Paid subscribers get early access to episodes as well as access to exclusive content in the form of weekly updates and our Friday document dumps of original police documents, photos, and video. Go to patreon.com/deadwaxtruecrime. And before we go this week, I want to alert listeners that we are going on a planned hiatus for the next few weeks. We want to let these first few episodes circulate. We hope listeners will reach out and engage, and that will impact this next half of the series. So please do that. Reach out and engage. And we will continue to engage on our Patreon page and through social media as we produce the remaining episodes of this series. So until next time, be well and take care. And thank you for listening.